I'm calling to order the regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen for March 17th, 2025. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. The time is 6:31. And if you join me in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Righty then. I hear a motion to approve the minutes of March 3rd.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Are you a second?
Not from me.
I'll second it then. Do we have any discussion?
Everybody okay?
All right, then it's just to me too. And you,
Well, I arrived late. I got in at old business, so I would be
All right.
remiss to approve the first part. So
got it. So, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye,
I abstain.
and Andy abstains. Very good. Present to speak, public participation is encouraged. Speakers are limited by appropriateness, staying on topic and maintaining decorum. Time may be limited to maintain progress. Please request to reserve time during the meeting if you wish to speak to a specific agenda item. Is there anybody online? Seeing no hands, anybody in the room? Go ahead.
Don Bird, 34 Red Oak Hill Road, Wellington. I just brought in a sketch. We're attempting to install a large solar array at north of Button Hill. On what
We need to very carefully word that.
yes, and on what would be outside of our lease line, if not entirely, mostly outside of our leased area. And we're entertaining a proposal from Earthlight to install it in such a way that it would be at no cost to us. We would get a lease payment as well as our residents could stay over 20 initially, and for us to over a 20-year period, probably about $200,000 to improve their facility, which may be used for a number of items, including insulation and thermal improvements that we probably don't need, heat pumps that we probably do need because our boilers, although only 7 years old, have been giving us trouble since year 2. And so I'm here to just ask I don't have a lot of details tonight, but to ask the selectmen whether they would entertain installing a large septic, right? PV field approximately 250 feet by 100 feet north of Button Hill. Right now, there's some trees in the way that would need to be cut, probably some evergreens would be installed as a visual break between our apartment and the array. And we'd like to at least move forward at some point in time in the near future with a real survey map with the solar shown on it. And discuss whether the selectmen at some point want to be part of that power purchase agreement array, or whether they want us to stand alone, either with Button Hill, possibly with the approval of Willington Woods to use some of their energy consumption towards the overall design of the solar array.
I don't know right off because I'm sure I don't have enough information at this point to go one way or another. Really, two questions that come to my mind immediately though is, do you foresee any legal obstacles with it being outside the lease area?
Will it be on your land?
Oh, okay,
Okay, but it would be outside of our leased area of your land.
got it. That makes sense to me, so that would be a consideration that we have to think about. And then who would administer the program, because I know, who is it, Mansfield Schools is having a tremendous problem with their solar because of the administration of the program with, Eversource. So that's a headache that I prefer not to take on, and so if you're thinking that maybe your group would take that administrative,
Well, Earthlight ends up going through the Green Bank. To, work out the design, if we sign an initial letter of agreement. Which time the Green Bank provides about $15,000 worth of, preliminary design work. Eversource gets involved with determining whether there's even room on the grid.
that was my next question, room on the grid.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding in the conversation I just had with John Dehan is there's no more room on the grid. But
Yeah,
I'm not hearing that from anywhere else yet.
Well, with that battery bank they're putting up at the north end of town, the reason it's where it is because that's the one spot where the grid is substantial enough to handle the input and output, so. All right.
Without more wiring improvements.
Yeah, so.
But I guess the
I'd love to see more research before we even think about making a decision. But,
Okay. I mean, I
legal
got
problems,
plenty
grid
of time.
problems,
I'm sorry.
legal problems, grid problems, administrative problems, and some kind of idea where we're going with those.
Okay,
I don't wanna say no, because green energy is coming whether we like it or not.
right, and there's some substantial funds that would
Right.
benefit our residents.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Pete, you had something?
Yes, Peter Olson, Ditch 97 Trask Road. I just wanted to express my support for item 9 and jump to C debt limit. I'm pleased to see the board of selectmen addressing that and adopting that kind of policy for our town, and look forward to your discussion. Thanks.
I look forward to it too. Maybe I'll learn something. Anybody else? Erica?
Erica Waschinsky, to touch on, what Don brought to you, I would encourage you to do a lot of research, before you allow them to continue, or possibly sign any agreement on land they don't have access to, so, on that.
That was a
Yeah,
concern.
so, 1 year later, this board has once again, in my opinion, failed the townspeople of Wellington. You've had 2 public meetings, January 27th at 4 p.m. and March 6th at 11 a.m. that dealt with the budget. You did not vote as a board to adopt a budget, yet the first selectman presented a budget to the Board of Finance. I asked who came up with these figures. Did you meet illegally again to discuss? Because the townspeople aren't aware. I'm keenly aware of the needs of this town and what it takes to formulate a budget. The budget, despite what is requested by your departments, is up to this board. You have total control about what you put into this budget and have failed to do so. You had a brief discussion about what number could get passed at a referendum, not what we need and what you're willing to keep or cut. You punted your role to the Board of Finance and want them to tell you what to do. This process is not a mystery to any of you. Mr. Tanaka and Mr. Clark served on the Board of Finance during the previous administration. And if you don't know what it takes to do a budget, then shame on you, as you have failed the townspeople with ignorance. I know what needs to be done. I did it in public with my board for 6 years. Wellington deserves better than this. A 19% budget increase should have been where you started, then got to work to make tough choices to get to a reasonable increase. But you didn't. You failed once again. If this budget fails, the ownership is on this board and not the Board of Finance or anyone else.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Nick.
Nick?
Nick Tella, Myrtle Road, Wellington. I have concern of some language that I've heard recently come from Peter. I believe it was a CIP meeting. There was discussion about basically raising the expenses to as high as we can in order to get to that 51%. Obviously not exactly worded like that, but paraphrasing. And the other day I heard conversation that I think that was Board of Finance meeting, that almost the 5% increase is kind of the bar to be at, which I have extreme problems with that. I think the Board of Selectmen really need to cut down on their budget. I mean, hearing 16, 19, or whatever that percent is there, Erica was just stating, that's serious concern. and it's reckless. So I hope that 5% is not the bar that you guys continue to set the goal at. I hope it's 3%. Obviously, I'd like it more, but realistically, I hope it's around 3. So that's all I have.
Okay, next, Stephanie.
Hi, Steph Summers, 4Y Road. Pete, I just wanted to remind you that the last meeting you said that you would be prepared to discuss the status on the strategic planning report that was delivered in January, I believe, or the end of December. I asked about it 2 weeks ago, and you said you needed to have further discussions before you could update the town on the status of it and the scheduling for it. So it's not on the agenda. I was hoping it could either be added to the agenda or addressed in your report as selectman. First selectman.
I'm sorry, Stephanie, strategic planning as in CIP or something else?
No, the economic development.
No,
Oh,
the strategic planning report that we hired with ARPA money. Yeah.
I apologize. I did not get it on this, we can add that in under old business.
Thank you.
Are you prepared to speak to that? Because
I can give an update, sure.
there we go.
So I'd like to make a motion that we add Economic Development Commission strategic plan status report before A, so it comes first.
All right, I will second that. Any discussion, Andy?
None.
All in favor? Aye. All right. I spelled strategic plan. Anybody else? You're online too?
Well, because I'm. Not yet.
There you go.
Try to keep it blind so it doesn't squeal.
I had a tablet that I could not get it low enough to not squeal. Anyways,
Only works instead of.
yeah, seeing nobody else online or in the room. Let's move on to correspondence. You have correspondence, didn't you? Pardon? That
It's in the
the,
back.
oh,
There's one in each
Yeah.
of your folders.
so we received correspondence from the Reverend Nathan Oliver, pastor at the Federated Church of Wellington. Says, dear friends of the Federated Church of Wellington, it's with heavy heart that we must tell you our church has decided to no longer steward the annual flea market on the Wellington Green each September. A question that may be asked is why? Well, as much as we have enjoyed our time with the flea market and the people like you, we have come to know over the years, our church has evolved to a place where our enthusiasm seems to be directed elsewhere. In that spirit, we are talking about a different type of event with a new focus. Stay tuned. As always, we invite you to worship with them at the Christ-centered way, at the White Church, Hill Church, on the green during the warmer weather or cooler weather in South Wellington at the Hall Memorial Church on Route 32. Thank you for all your support for all of these years. Sincerely, Pastor Nate Oliver, Federated Church of Wellington. So that is our correspondence.
It's a shame. They put a lot of work into that over a lot
And
of years.
it was enjoyed by the town.
I think it's a issue that all organizations face, which is volunteers in the economy and the society we live in are getting more and more difficult to obtain.
All right, so that brings us to the first selectman status report.
No tax refunds.
No,
Good.
yeah, I'm liking it.
Reports.
Yes, I'm gonna add that to, I'm gonna start off with the what our Public Works has been doing. Under this first selectmen's report. They started the spring grading of the dirt roads, for which I am grateful. How about you, John? They've done a nice job. They're working on sweeper maintenance and have started cleaning up tree debris to facilitate that street sweeping. They're cleaning off catch basins. They finished removing the food service area in the common room upstairs, seeing as how it's no longer used for food service. so that we can rearrange up there and get the freezer out of the way of the other place, so. It looks real good, Don, stop by, take a look.
Yeah, I'm
You remember where that shelf was with a window over it so that they could go from the kitchen out? That's all gone.
Someday I get to talk to you about a space for our housing authority management team.
All right. We'll work on that. They installed new traffic signs around town. They've been cleaning their own equipment and preparing for spring. They put in tree removal services request for proposals. The bid is out. We should be closing that on the 27th, I believe, 31st.
I think.
The Public Works Director would like us to make a public service announcement to please stop stealing the road closed signs and traffic cones. They're about $240 each for the signs and $30 each for the cones, and the taxpayers need to replace them. So if you see them, they are not free because they're on the road. Please secure your trash loads on the way to the transfer station. Route 320 and Hancock Road have been a mess. And the Public Works and myself would like to give a special thank you to the town of Putnam. They had a clogged culvert. And to contract a jet wash to pump it out was gonna cost the town between $3,000 and $3,500.
Wow.
And the town of Putnam came in, but because this is the second drain that they've cleared for us, they said they couldn't do it for free. It cost us 3 Wellington pizzas.
3 Wellington pizzas?
3 Wellington pizzas.
We're almost better off paying the $3,500.
Yeah. No, and I think if we called Jeff, we could probably get a discount.
That's probably true.
The house that was getting flooded is no longer getting flooded, so
That's good to hear.
yeah, what else is going on in town? Oh, and tomorrow night is the town meeting to, elect a new member of the Region 19 board. I had a townsperson call me today to ask who the, nominees are. The nominees come from the townspeople nominate and then elect the person. I don't have those until the town meeting. And so if you'd like to be involved in the selection of the next Region 19 board member, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock at the old town hall. There's something else I'm supposed to do. If it comes to me, I'll do it during good and welfare. We have no tax refunds. Our tax collector is hard at work going to school to get certified. In the meantime, she seems to be doing a pretty good job. We will be starting interviews for an assistant assessor next Monday. You knew that, right?
I did know that.
Okay, good.
I was nodding my head in agreement.
Because your administrative assistant sometimes does your job.
Yes. Well, that's good.
She certainly did this.
I have another new business at this time, under old business. Let's start with the strategic plan
For the Economic Development
for
Commission.
the Economic Development Commission.
Next steps on the strategic plan for the Economic Development Commission. We have a completed report from our consultant. It's 85 pages. Has some good information in there regarding our town and potential projects and avenues for growing our commercial brand list in a process and in a way that is acceptable and helpful for our town in terms of not being too big, fitting our rural character. So it's posted on our website. It is posted, and this was sent to people who've been interested in the process. Those reports are out there. The commission is developing an executive summary of the plan now, and we wanted to do something other than 85 pages. And, that's, we're gonna be doing that at our next EDC meeting. We'll have our first discussions on that, looking at a draft economic, executive summary on the 24th. That's just a couple days away. Encourage everyone to come. Should be interested. And we'll share that executive summary with planning and zoning. We're in the process of getting on their schedule, and then we'll be looking at presenting to the town as well. That's the update for the strategic planning report.
Okay. Stephanie, did you have any questions on that? There's something else that you were hoping to find from us?
Well, I think I was looking for if there's a schedule for, a fruition date, and also if there are dates where the public can specifically participate in discussion of the plan, like in a public forum or something. I know that that was part of what was outlined by the consultant. Does he have some ideas for that, or?
The consultant's not working with EDC, because he has completed his contract, and that is finished. So, like I said, the next steps are, for us to develop an executive summary of the 85-page plan that was done by Strategy 5. We'll present that to the planning and zoning to get their input, and then share with the town and get their input as well.
Okay, it's just like, it would be good if we, if there's some planning dates or goal dates that we could sort of, as the public, keep up with, instead of being, sorting through the fine print of the meeting minutes and everything. But I'm just curious, because the original outline for what the task was for the consultant, paid for by with the ARPA money, was included things that he was suggesting that he would oversee, like, so that there's a person who is doesn't have an oar in the development of it, but is sort of a convener or a discussion leader, as it were, kind of like we do with the plan of conservation and development. And I just wondered, is there something like that, and is he finished if that's not done yet?
Yeah, he is finished, and the next steps, as I outlined already, the EDC is going to be developing the executive summary. Anyone is free to attend our meetings and participate in our meetings. We're a very informal group. We've had two meetings so far analyzing the report as a commission. And we will be presenting to the town our recommendations and our key findings, conclusions, recommendations, strategies, and implementation steps moving forward. And those, we're interested in what the town has to say. Absolutely. I reviewed the scope of work proposal that was submitted by the consultant carefully. And he has completed all of the required items in both of those.
Okay.
Matt, did you say that this report is online now?
Oh, yeah.
And
Any
so
townsperson.
anybody can look at it, okay?
They have anything.
That's a good start.
Come to an EDC meeting and provide input. You can send input to me. My address is on there. You can reach out to Mike D'Amato. He's there as well. Go to like I said, any of our meetings, the EDC, the planning and zoning meeting, and we're going to be venue planning and zoning. And then we have a presentation scheduled for the town people to attend in general as well. I said we don't have a date for that yet, or I would have included it here.
I understand that, Matt. I just think, I guess I just want to, I thought that there was going to be more public involvement rather than just inviting people to come to the EDC meetings and listen in. I really thought after the library session that the public was going to be primary players in this, as well as the commission, and that was kind of an end goal that would be so that there's buy-in from border to border in town. There's a lot of interest. It's not all, it's not all under one committee, I don't think. So that's just my 2 cents, but I think there are a lot of people in town who are interested in in hearing more and participating more firsthand than just doing a present to speak at a meeting. Thanks.
Yeah, and that's scheduled. As soon as we're done presenting to the planning and zoning, we will hold a session as well for the general public. And we had involvement from 37 one-on-one interviews that our consultant did with all the people involved in town government and some not involved in town government, also key business people as well. And all that was, we had a workshop at the library that was attended by about 27 people. We got all the input from the public there as well. Then we went away and did our project, and now we're in the process of developing an executive summary. And we look forward for more input from the town as well. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, Emergency Services Facilities Building Committee, how are we doing, Andy?
Well, we have, our consultant met with the key department there. We met with the EDC, we met with planning and zoning, met with the selectmen that were available, and the various members of both fire departments, and has taken that information back. The committee itself has sort of tacitly agreed that we didn't want to speculate too much in the absence of Peter can attest to that. We discussed that about, we didn't want to go too far beyond the scope of what we've asked the consultant to do, that we're waiting for that information, rather than just spin our wheels talking about what could happen. We're gonna wait till we get some hard information back, and then we'll discuss it as it comes in and work forward through that. Because we really don't know. I'm sure everybody has an opinion, but we don't know which way, what the direction is. We all know that things have to be done to maintain our level of service, but and that's where we're at with that. So we didn't have our last meeting because we didn't have much to talk about.
Much will hinge on his location study.
Yes, the location study is really what we're
We're waiting for that.
waiting for,
feedback.
rather than speculate what could be, we'll just wait until we get. See if we agree with it, you know, what the consultant has to say. Take it from there.
I've, as far as that's concerned, Senator Gordon has offered the town the, crescent moon shaped piece of land in front of the current station 13.
Oh,
To move it from the state to us, and he's
So that's-
assisting me
excellent.
in that paperwork.
excellent.
So we're moving forward on that to see if we can get at least that done. So if we do end up there, at least we'll have some building options.
That's fantastic.
Come away from that mountain a little bit.
I know, Peter, you were instrumental, and Peter, you was instrumental too in moving that
Not
forward.
as instrumental as Ralph,
Well,
figuring out all that drainage.
but I know you were working the political side, and that's good work. So it's good teamwork.
Doesn't that mean that we can do drive-through?
I'm sorry?
Does that mean we'll be able to? do
I
that?
don't know whether we'll be able to get that far away.
That-
We don't, and we're not positive that's where the station should be once the
And
study comes.
that's kind of what everything's kind of hinging on all of that. A little bit of a domino effect.
Mhm.
We don't want to get ahead of ourselves and start thinking, oh, this is gonna be great, and then somebody's, no, that's not gonna work for us.
If I may, Pete, have we heard any more about that funding that was buried somewhere in the Biden administration?
You mean for,
Station 13.
yeah, Station 13, there was some funding if you included an emergency operations center.
Correct.
And I have not heard about that for a while. Mike D'Amato.
Mike D'Amato wrote that up, and
Yes.
he's been the point man. He hasn't mentioned it, so I don't.
I haven't heard anything about it
I
recently.
asked him about it a month ago. Yeah. I'm not-
Those took our money.
I'm not confident that,
I'm not confident
I
that.
was curious.
no, it's a very good question. I asked Mike about it a month or so ago.
Oh.
It was like $500,000 if I recall.
Yeah, close to it,
Yeah,
490, 487.
which could be helpful if we need to do something there,
I can't see it hurting,
short term.
$500,000.
no, can't see that hurting.
$4.5 million would help. Okay. Anything else on that?
Not for me.
Okay, you wanna talk about bonding?
Well, we have three items here. We have bonding discussion, debt limit, and tax stabilization. And they're all kind of linked together, except for the tax stabilization one. I think we put that in first.
Yeah, let's put that one first.
I just, can we ask I want to know from you guys, can we ask our accounting firm to give us, advise us on the implementation of a tax stabilization policy? I talked to our assessor about it today, the public is very interested because it seems as though they're very worried that, we're gonna be giving away money. And I told everyone, I don't think that's the case. We would structure it so it is revenue neutral, but it would be flat every year.
Right.
So, can we ask our accounting firm to help us with that?
I'd like to ask our accounting firm both on that and, we looked at drafts of tax stabilization policies and debt policies last meeting, I believe.
No, that was debt policy, not.
Yeah, all right, debt policy. Didn't we have a tax stabilization policy?
We had a letter from the Economic Development Commission recommending that the board of selectmen take up a tax stabilization policy.
Yeah, so about that, what my understanding is that from talking to, well, a little bit online, mostly talking like about, I'm saying that businesses that want to move to a town look for that, and that is one of the from the EDC, that is one of their motivations for the town to look at that, a business, and correct me where I go astray. But this is just my understanding of why a town might want to do that. That a business comes in and they're going to pay, I don't know, I'll make up a number.
10 million.
10 million in taxes over a series of years, so they would rather, instead of having and they put in an infrastructure that gets taxed at current value. And it might be new technology, it might be likely
Data center or
whatever, right, something like that, which has a fairly high value, so it gets taxed at a high value, but it depreciates rapidly. So the revenues, you get a large bucket of money up front, and then it slowly, that bucket of money decreases as time goes on.
Yes.
And as the values decrease. And as sort of like a desktop computer, I was thinking of that kind of technology. I use very simple analogies in my head. You buy a desktop computer, 2 years later, it's worth absolutely nothing.
Right.
You sell it for pennies compared to what you paid for it. So with technology, that's.
You pay to have somebody take it away.
That's right, you may pay to have somebody take it away. So the proponents of this say, well, a business is more likely to be attracted to investing in a town, and I look at it as an investment from a business. If they know that, okay, I'm not gonna pay this, I'm gonna pay a flat amount every year, which I can budget for. There's a cost of living adjustment, there's all kinds of conditions and terms you put into that. And the town will arguably benefit from having a steady stream and a calculable and predictable amount of money, rather than having to guess how it might depreciate. And that's always sort of after the fact. And this, again, I'm naive when it comes to some of these things. The people that are against it say, yeah, but you don't get that nice big fat paycheck in the beginning. And then if the company defaults, at least you got that big fat paycheck in the beginning. And then if it just sits fallow, okay, you don't get anything, but there's not much cost to the town here. So but the attraction part, from what I have heard, is that companies may just go to the next town. They'll go to the next town that has that, because they're looking to be in an area, and if another town has it and we don't, But did I go way off the rail, any of my understanding of that?
The thing that I'd like to add to that is, one, the reason for the attraction is there's a large investment up front. So
Yes.
there's a large investment and a large tax burden at the same time, then they have trouble getting started.
Right.
Two, if the reevaluation is done every 5 years. If they're revalved higher than they think, then what you've done is you have evaluated them over 10 years or 15 years.
Sure.
And if they disagree with the reval, if you don't have a tax stabilization plan, they don't agree with the reval, then you have a large legal burden
Right.
to argue it.
Yep, that makes sense to me. I hadn't thought of
And
that.
the other thing is that if they do leave early, the town is the first in line for
Yeah, I did.
the other dollars.
Yeah.
for the dollars that they do have.
Yeah, it gives the potential investor. Some degree of certainty about how he or she can plan forward
Sure, yeah, right,
and make money.
and investors want that.
And then it's really important with high throughput, low margin kinds of businesses. With high capital expenditures.
The battery folks specifically requested that, right?
They did, and.
That's the first I've heard of it,
Right,
when they.
and this wouldn't be for batteries. This would be for a policy of the.
Yes, no, I understand that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
So it's on,
I know, right, yeah. That's
So-
the
so
first I've heard of it.
it would be applicable, the Board of Selectmen can choose to, offer a tax stabilization deal, if you will. To, people moving into town, with businesses, at their discretion, then it would be a negotiation.
It is a
When we adopt the ordinance, we can put orders on that, how we want to go.
Right.
It's up to us.
And it doesn't mean that everybody's eligible for it. It is a case by case.
Case by case
Is
basis.
that within the bounds of, so it isn't one of these, once you have it, you have to offer it to everybody?
No,
Okay, you can kind of build your own
right,
set of rules.
right. And the other thing, well, and that's hence, let's get our accounting firm in here to add.
Right,
So,
right. I was wondering if there's any cost benefit from the accounting office. If they know that they don't, I mean, what I'm thinking of, taxes still have to be assessed, I imagine. So it still goes through a process. But since it's a stabilization plan, is there less work from the tax assessor's office? Does this save them any, sort of like we argued about salary and hourly? Once you kind of know what you don't have to fuss around with timesheets.
We would have
Does it
to ask,
save anything?
yeah, we would have to ask upstairs.
And the auditors,
Right.
they might know that?
I think, it would be a reset in the middle sometime when we do evaluation for everybody.
True.
But, so that's,
Oh, right, but that's a little different, and I think, I guess, but yeah.
but we can ask.
So
I know,
I'd like to move that we consult with our accounting firm to see if they can give us a plan that we can start to implement. On top of that, after we get that back from the accounting firm, so we have something reasonably well
Right.
formed, I'd like to pass it through the lawyers.
when you look at online stuff, it's so broad in scope, it's
Yeah.
hard to say, how do we put this
Right,
to my town? It almost does, they're usually talking about cities, much larger.
Also,
exactly.
I think-
Much larger.
And how does this affect a small town like ours, if it does?
I think that what we need is, we need this to be broad enough that whoever's on the Board of Selectmen at the time has the information they need.
Right.
To work that off or with whatever incoming business there is, but not so narrow that we're,
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
boxed in.
Is this just the selectmen's decision, or does it go to a town meeting?
I think as it was framed, when we talked to the people in East Windsor, it would be the Board of Selectmen.
Strictly, okay.
The Board of Selectmen would decide whether we should be working up a plan or.
A policy,
With-
okay, yeah,
We have a policy, we'd be working up an individual plan with each person coming in,
I see.
so.
And then hence, let's ask the lawyers again,
Ask the lawyers again, what's would be best.
Yeah.
what's the best way to go about this?
Hopefully, the policy would have some guidance in it. For
Yes.
this Board of Selectmen. For consideration,
Is that good on that one? So
that's good on that one.
So,
So actually, I'd like a motion that we send it to the accounting firm.
all right, I'll make a motion that we send a request to our accounting firm to provide us consulting services on debt stabilization policy for Wellington.
Okay,
I second that.
anybody else want to discuss it more? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on to debt limit,
Bonding discussion.
bonding discussion.
They're both.
I was going down the list the way you had them
They're
here.
kind of the same here, but. So I handed you guys out this time right here.
Yes.
And this is all preliminary. Okay.
Can you send a copy of this electronically?
He has one.
Okay.
I have one, I can scan it.
Good, thank you. And by the way, it's all preliminary, okay?
Yeah,
Draft.
right, but can you just speak to these, like,
Yeah, I
I
got
see it on paper, thank you.
for discussion,
Yes.
not final. That's 3 times.
I don't-
I can do more if you want.
No, I get it. You don't even have to include numbers, you can just say a dollar amount, it
Okay,
doesn't matter what.
so, I looked this stuff up, so our debt right now, is about $850,000.
And that is because we have payments. Is that what you're,
The library.
Yep.
And the public works trucks,
okay,
and any other debt that we have.
all right, yeah, okay.
I got that from our, 2024 annual report.
But it doesn't sound like a lot to me.
No, it's not.
Okay.
So our share of Region 19 from that same annual report is about $335,000. So the total, it looks like right now, our total debt is $1,185,000.
And can you tell me the debt of Region 19, what,
335,000.
that's because we owe them money?
That's because they have a bond in our, they have a bonding.
Okay.
long-term bonding, and our portion of that as reported in that plan is $235,000.
I didn't know that, thank you for explaining that.
That's all right. That-
I think that the Yost with roofs were part of that, 335.
I didn't know whether it's that or the track, that the, turf. They, I don't know.
That was a long time ago, I forgot all about it.
Easy to do
Still
that.
paying for it. How about that?
So then, you know, that policy we talked about, in our last meeting that were attached to our minutes. That, calls for what we're thinking about is somewhere between an 8 and 10%, upper ceiling on how much debt the town should borrow.
I thought it was 8 to 12 and we're shooting for 10.
Oh, well, I could adjust.
I checked that with Donna, but I believe we should be between 8 and 12 and we shoot really hard for 10.
So this should go up by 1%, hence draft preliminary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So our budget right now altogether is about $21,475,000. That's our 19, that's our Board of Education and our general budget, which includes CIP. That means when adopted, our annual budget, that means when adopted, our annual budget ceiling will be about 1 million, the debt ceiling will be about 1,932,000. Every year, that's about as high as we can go, it looks like, right now with these preliminary numbers. So if that's the case, then we look from there and we look at, okay, we have a firehouse and we have a school that are currently being discussed. So our lowest school proposal that I think is 88 million. I'm not sure, but I need to look it up. I tried to find it before coming to this meeting.
It's a working number, that's fine.
Well, yeah, I have the sneaky, is it 3 million? Is it, you know, anyway.
It's a discussion.
I'll
So
double
let's
check.
say it was, if it's 88 million.
Yeah.
And if,
Then our share of that, talking to Tammy Nuccio, about 2 weeks ago, our share of that would be somewhere around 17 million. And it might be better, it could be, it's possible, but it's gonna be somewhere around 17 million. If our share of a new school for 88 million is 17 million, then I calculated out at 5% in a 20-year note what our annual payment would be. So 88 million, our share is 17 million, we would bond 17 million. If we bond 17 million, then at 5% for 20 years, our annual cost of the town would be somewhere around 1,350,000. James Marshall has his hand raised.
And Jim, we'll get to you in just a second, okay?
Sounds good.
Somewhere. So, and then I want to see that I don't, it's just preliminary, that compares favorably actually with the 9 or 10% debt ceiling rate of 1,932,000. Look at number 6 above, Andy.
Mhm.
So.
No, I saw that. No, the numbers, I mean, from the way this using these figures, the way, the way it's mapped out.
So, I'd like to see if we can contact our auditor, on another separate issue, okay? So there's two ways to look at debt policy. The first way is to, look at it as a percentage of our annual budget, which is what I've done here, at least in a preliminary fashion. The other way is, there's a statutory limit, apparently. Again, I'm not an expert, we need to talk to the auditors. There's a statutory limit on 3% of our, grand list. So if we have a grand list, our grand list is about, 658 million, somewhere around there. If our grand list is 658 million, then, our statutory limit on that is 3%. That means we're limited to, a total debt of 19,740,000. So if you look up above, I'm on 10 now, right? If you look up above, where was it? It was 17 million.
17.
Yeah. So that leaves about 2 million for other potential possible, and by the way, this is all, now we're not talking about taxing people, this is just debt policy.
No, yeah, no, I understand. So this is just a formal written debt policy
Yeah.
that anyone can look at.
Yeah.
And how does that benefit? Having a formal debt policy. We don't have one now, and we're not strangling on. Or on anything on our own debt, so how does that benefit the taxpayer?
Well, the taxpayer would know that we're not gonna overtax, and we're not gonna go over what other towns do. In terms of having a reasonable rate of indebtedness and a reasonable rate of taxation.
Does it help our Moody's value, does it help those kind of rating by having a formal written
The
policy?
auditors have come in every year for at least the last 10 years saying, you really ought to have a
Okay,
debt
so
policy.
this coming
It's
from other
coming from-
professionals in the
yes,
finance world,
Right,
that the towns should have one.
should have one, and this way we it gives the town at least a very good guideline on
Sure,
how not to spend themselves into oblivion.
yeah.
Do you mind if we have James? speak
No, I
up?
don't mind.
James, I know you've been looking at bonding quite a bit. Would you like to say
Yeah, hi
something?
guys. Thanks. Yeah, just to kind of supplement numbers, based on, I think we have recent data from the schools, related to potential bonding scenarios as of December, Andy. And extrapolating that, and you'll see it in the plan that's presented on CIP on Wednesday. It is roughly a 17 and change, 17.53 million. As a neighbor in the ballpark for a consolidated school project, on an $85 million new school. At the rates, it's actually about 1.57 million for a 20-year bond payment for the rates that the school got in December. And that would be similar for the firehouse as well. So either of those in and of themselves would exceed that cap based on the other numbers you presented today. And that's exclusive to those and not inclusive to any other lease payments for some of the major equipment that's coming up. In the next 10 years, there's probably another $6-7 million of emergency services equipment and other public works vehicles. So there's a lot out there. So I've expressed it before, but I'd just be concerned that a formal limit rather than a recommended policy is potentially way too limiting, and would really kind of handcuff what the residents of the town may or may not decide to fund at referendum, as a part of their process. So that's it. Just trying to give you some additional numbers. Thanks.
Jim, I think at the very least, it would inform some idea of where we stand. Sometimes when you're given a number, but you're not given it in relation to other numbers, it makes less sense.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
the idea behind this is to give it scale.
Yep,
on
understood.
suggested versus where we're at. See if we're
So
on the
you
roll.
you guys will have a lot more data related to that. Pete, I think you left the meeting last Wednesday at CIP, but there's the plan that I gotta send out later on tonight for discussion on Wednesday should have all of that more accurately captured and should be a good reference point for all of these discussions, quite frankly.
I think that we have many, many discussions in this town coming up.
Agreed. Thank you, gentlemen.
How do these debt policies get implemented? Do they become a town ordinance or is it is it written into the tax policy or can it be changed?
I think anything,
Well, anything can be changed, of course it can.
I think what it does is it allows you to check what you're doing against general accounting.
And when you said a statutory limit, was that a debt ceiling, statutory debt ceiling? Is that state?
Yeah, there's an ordinance, I can look it up, but there's an ordinance. I need to look, like I said, it's all preliminary.
Yeah.
I
I'm
think-
I'm
No,
sorry,
I
I
still
don't
wanna
mean to
get-
challenge you, I just trying to understand.
I just don't wanna get, you said, you know,
I'm not doing that.
so I understand. So it looks like it's 3%, so,
Okay.
and it's, I can look up the section number.
No, these aren't gotcha questions.
Yeah, I
Just trying to
know, I
understand.
get it, but at 3%, what the state wants to do, they wanna make sure. So the town doesn't get in over its head and
Get in
then
over
go
its-
screaming, oh my God, what
Yeah,
are they
yeah,
doing?
right.
That kind of thing.
They don't wanna come in and rescue us.
Right.
Right, but what happens when something happens in a town, and again, it's speculating, when a town does need. Things can happen, just like in our personal lives, sometimes we have to go into more debt than we wanted to, because bad things happen.
Yeah.
How do you get around that? When
Well,
you have,
there's three things that I would say. The first one is, we should manage our debt level such that we have capacity left over.
agree, I should do the same with my
For
personal.
emergency.
No,
The second one,
I have credit cards.
the second one is, that, I guess it's only two. The second one is that we can change the debt policy. It just requires a vote, that's all.
Okay.
So if we adopt a debt policy, we're adopting a process for issuing debt, rules and regulations for how we're going to do it, it's all spelled out. And then parameters, this is how high we want to go.
And this is something that is recommended by finance professionals
Yeah.
that deal with municipalities. Wonder if it helps our insurance rates or anything else.
I believe it helps our credit rating.
Credit rate, that's what I would expect. I just wonder if it permeates into any other savings that would eventually benefit a taxpayer.
If you don't have a good credit rating, those bonds get really expensive.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Well, that's right.
They do.
Would there be anybody that could speak to that? Would it, if it would help our
Well,
procurement of bond, would an auditor know that? We can ask the question.
Can ask the question. Well, I think we need to dig into this more because I am not the expert in the field.
No, and I'm certainly not, so. Well, then, since,
Hey, James, can you send, when you send out that report that you're gonna share with CIP, can you send it to me as well so that I can update these figures?
Yeah, I can do that to the best of our estimating power.
Thank you.
No, my pleasure.
well, I'd like to make a motion then that we somehow ask our auditor this question as well, and as you pointed out that the taxation, the tax stabilization plan and debt limit, they're almost, they're
Yeah, draw the line.
They're entwined, if nothing, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
We already made a motion to ask them about that. Can we include, I'd like to make a motion that we incorporate questions about a debt limit at the same time. I mean, if you're gonna pay them by the hour.
Yeah.
If we have to pay them at all, I don't know how that works, but
Yeah. So there's a
we're
lot.
gonna find out.
There's a lot,
But let's ask the questions together and maybe they
Yeah.
would make more sense.
there's a lot in there in the document that we shared.
Yes, there is. I read it.
I know, so it's really a policy.
Yes.
But, yeah, I think we should do that. I think we should ask them to come in here and tell us about why it benefits the town, why we should do it, why we shouldn't do it.
Yep. That's what, yeah, pros and cons.
Is the one that we reviewed, send that to them, the one we reviewed last time.
Fine with me.
Ask them,
Sure.
here's what we're considering,
Yeah.
Then I'll second that.
How long have they been our auditors under discussion? Most of them made it second. Long time? Yeah, long time. So they know the town well.
They know the town.
Okay, then we'll get good,
I even
good
recognize
honest
the guy when
answers.
he walked in there now.
Yeah. So we'll get good answers with a fair amount of data, with a good data set.
All right, good. Peter.
I just want to add to this conversation if I may.
Oh, sure.
I like Andy's comment about what if there's an emergency, and historically, I think the town's done a really good job of maintaining a healthy fund balance.
Yeah, it seems so.
That when the fire department's pump failed on one of the apparatus, that was available. And I think that's an outcome of managing debt well. Well, what concerns me is historically, we've been a very frugal town when it comes to debt. And we can see that with what the numbers Matt shared tonight. But that seems to be changing as numerous CIP projects are being presented. All of them with the caveat that, well, we can just bond it. And I said this to you at the last meeting, that it almost seems to be the implication that that's like a cost that goes into a bucket that we don't have to pay for. But we know that's not true. And whatever we bond has a direct impact on our town budget and levels of taxation. So I think when CIP plans are presented to the town, which we vote on in town meeting, having some framework, and I think this debt policy helps the average taxpayer understand, well, if it's exceeding the recommendation by our own state of Connecticut that provides that advice to every town that we've always followed, is a good idea. And I'm glad you guys are doing that. Thank you.
Hey, James?
Yeah, hi guys. Just one last comment, then I'll leave you be. What hasn't been discussed and what really needs to be a big part of the conversation is if you want to reduce the amount of bonded debt that the town takes on, then we should look at actually developing a capital fund, a meaningful capital fund that would actually help reduce that overall burden. Pay yourself first, save as a town, so that we can reduce the total level of bonded need. That is what CIP has been talking about and is looking at. And that is what is in the CIP plan at some degree to start to try to find ways to build towards and mitigate the level of bonded need we need at a later date. And when the discussions on this board in particular, and then in Board of Finance as well, seek to say we got to lower to an artificial, percent increase in the general government budget, of which CIP is a big part, it essentially negates any ability to save, because the cuts come from CIP, and ultimately we're not able to accrue any balance of any meaningful value, and then we're stuck with bonding. To Peter's point, as discussed, yes, the solution is, oh, we have to bond it because this town and these boards do not meaningfully try to save and build towards mitigating a future bonded project. So you really have to talk about, as part of any planning strategy related to long-term debt management, in what it looks like as a town to try to reduce that level of bonded need. And it's not all going to be in savings. It's also going to be in, being very efficient as we can with the scope and scale of projects and getting whatever help we can from the state. But saving has to be a big part of it. And that's not going to look pretty in your budgets, but you need to start making that argument. And that's it. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. And good discussion.
Okay. Good and welfare. Once again, I remind everyone of the town meeting tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, the old town hall. And because of the way the town is structured, you must be at the town meeting to vote. And I had an inquiry on who was running for the position, and those people are nominated at the town meeting. So until you go to the town meeting to nominate somebody, we don't know who those people are. Stephanie?
Hi, Steph Summers, Y Road. Pete, can we mention since one of the candidates has reached out to you, I know they're not nominated on the floor, but we do know that they're interested in the job. That Julie Marshall is interested in running for that.
Stephanie? I hesitate to name the candidates until they are nominated at the very least. I believe the Republicans have a candidate as well. I believe that needs to come from the legislative body of the town and not from the Board of Selectmen.
Okay, it's just not how it's come down before, that we've usually known the candidates when they express interest. Okay, sorry.
No, that's okay. That's just, my feeling in the matter is that I like to let the legislative body legislate on their own rather than to interfere with them. The last thing on good and welfare is tomorrow, the town will be closing on the sale of the Pedex property to obtain that triangle that's missing out of the, which park is that? Fenton
That's
Ruby?
right, Ruby Park.
Fenton Ruby
That
Park.
other piece down there.
We will also be meeting with some of the adjacent landowners to see if we can open up an abandoned road briefly to clean that property up to make it safer for everybody. Is there anybody else present to speak?
I'd like to speak to her. Okay, let them go first.
Go ahead, Pete.
Oh, Peter Tiffich, nice on Cross Road. Just checking because of the earlier comment. Did we meet legally tonight?
Yes, we met legally tonight and we have not had any legal meetings.
Hallelujah.
All right, thank you. Yes, Don.
Bird, Red Oak Hill, Wellington. Just a question to you, Peter. What's the status of our rec department?
We've hired a new rec director. She started last Monday. Her name is Rachel Signor, and she is
Most excellent.
she is in the building currently.
Okay.
Erica?
Thank you, Erica Washinsky. Two things. Peter, I think it's important that the question was asked to me tonight, and I don't know the answer. I'd like you to look into it. The timestamp from all things coming out of the town clerk's office is 2026, not 2025. That includes the agenda you posted for tonight, as well as the agenda for the town meeting. I'm hoping the answer would be it's as simple as a clerical error, but you should certainly look into that and have that corrected on her stamp machine. And second of all, earlier in the discussion, there were some thanks to the town of Putnam for helping out once again. I was appalled to hear your administrative assistant chime in and say they would be better off spending the $3,500 than 3 pizzas from Wellington Pizza. I thought that was incredibly insulting to one of our oldest businesses, very generous businesses to the townspeople in Wellington. And I think she should correct her words. Thank you.
I apologize for speaking out of turn. That's not what I meant, but
I didn't believe that you did, but you'll go that.
yeah.
Okay, anything else? Do I hear a move? I'm sorry.
That's all right, that's all right. When Erica talked about come to the role to the Board of Finance stuff, and I guess, and again, I am very naive when it comes to budgets, but I see the townspeople that staff or that serve on the Board of Finance and CIP. I see them as partners in the budget. I don't see them as, we're not at odds with one another. So I mean, I know all the people that sit, I don't know them, all of them well, but I know the people that sit on the Board of Finance and the people that sit on CIP, and they work very hard to come up with these workable financial plans or capital improvement plans. I respect their work. So when it comes to us, I don't really question it. I mean, should I be questioning it more? I think that they work very hard and really dove into all of the aspects of that. So when we went over the budget line by line and they talk about efficiencies, I didn't see any expenditures that looked out of line. I didn't see places where you could shave. I mean, yeah, you could probably, I saw some places, a few $100s here and there, but I didn't see any real, and again, I am naive about this, but I didn't see any things that were totally out of scope. So when it comes to shaving down a budget, it comes to me that, well, you have to take it from somewhere. And, if you're, or you. I think that we have learned that the taxpayers have a threshold of what they're willing to vote for. We don't want to spin wheels. We want to come up with a budget that is meaningful, benefits everyone. And is somewhat, I'll use the word affordable, but I don't think that's quite the right word, but I don't know. So I don't think that it's at least I don't feel that I'm lacking in duty by trusting the people on the commissions that have done that work. I don't know, and maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe I'm supposed to double check and go with a jaundiced eye, but I don't feel like I should do that. So I don't. Maybe I just have a lot to learn about that. And I admit that I do, so I'm trying to learn as I go. And efficiencies, I get it. I don't. I mean, I don't know, maybe we could save on copy paper or make, little things like that, and I'm not saying that, I don't say that lightly. Those things can add up, and maybe that is something that we should endeavor to do, is save all of those pennies where we can, but anyway, that's it. Now I'm done. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I will second the motion to adjourn.
All those in favor? Aye. Hi, everybody.
Thank you.